Okay, Friday, 12th of December 2025. So, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Scamble, scam and gamble. It's a nice portmanteau word that I came across recently in a podcast. And a portmanteau word meaning combination of things, combination of words. So, chillax, chill, relax. Scamble, scam and gamble. Very nice. Because that word quite nicely, interesting to put it in one way, nicely defines the history of cryptocurrencies, not of Bitcoin, but of cryptocurrencies, because there's a distinction. It's Bitcoin, not cryptocurrencies. It kind of nicely encompasses the casino and gambling mentality and here today, gone tomorrow kind of nature and reputation of a lot of the cryptocurrencies out there. Venture, VC backed, shady advertising, dodgy websites, false or fabricated roadmaps and white papers, things like that. Scamble, or the casino kind of mentality where everyone apes into this coin for whatever reason, because it might go from here to there over the next 10 minutes and I can 10x my money. That kind of mentality. And frankly, that's always been there in humans. That's gambling. That's you go back 2, 3,000, 4,000 years, people were still gambling, albeit in different forms, different ways. Even in the analog world, they were still gambling. That's that risk taking thing part of us. But this is the thing to understand with regards to Bitcoin and with regards to cryptocurrencies in general. Bitcoin has sound fundamentals. Money you can own, money you can spend, apolitical, decentralized, fixed supply, and censorship resistant. And at the same time, we can say it's got that what's it called, immaculate conception with regards to it was created on a forum. There was no real IPO, no ICO. It just existed, and pure meritocracy, get involved or not. And 200 moving average says adoption is happening. So then we can say, right, well, Bitcoin doesn't have these things. Yeah, there were in the past people, sure, but they came and went, disappeared, or they got involved and it revealed their true character, and they went and did their own thing over here, over there, in different crypto land coins over there. But the Puritans, so to speak, they stayed. The Bitcoin maximalists, they stayed. And people also say, right, well, the Bitcoin maximalists, people people would have said years ago, oh, if you know you're right, why Bitcoin maximalists? If you know you're right, why do you shout about it? Why are you so toxic, so to speak? Because it's an interesting paradox where the scammers will behave kind, but really they're toxic behind the scenes. Whereas Bitcoin maximalists will be toxic on the surface because they're kind behind, deep down behind, because they know all these different frauds and scams and whatever else. Don't get involved. Don't Bitcoin only. Bitcoin only. Don't even bother. Don't even touch it. Oh, no way, no way, no way. You're going to get hurt. Fingers hurt. Bitcoin only, because they know and recognize these things, whether through personal experience, putting the incentives together, they understand it in some fashion, had their fingers burnt, etc. They understand that fundamentally, that there is no second best. It's Bitcoin or nothing, because the first principles of Bitcoin, as I said just a few moments ago, and or remember, and as I always say, Bitcoin is fundamentally maths, computer science, and physics. There is no third party. There is no someone else to rely on. There is no casino structure. It is an evolution in money, just how we could say the car is an evolution in transportation versus horses. Electricity in the light bulb is an evolution in versus the candle, things like that. That everything else out there is a scamble in some fashion. Scam/gamble, casino or rigged or fraudulent in some fashion. It's out there. But as an interesting caveat, understand in terms of human nature, yes, there will be some. There'll be an interesting bell curve to go deeper into the human psyche. There'll be some who are, say, angels and saints in the crypto space. The vast majority will be indifferent in some fashion. It'll just be going along to get along. They know no better. They know no better. They just work there for the job, there for the money, things like that. They have their own incentives. And there'll be those who are the scammers and devils and whatever else. The what's the opposite of zealots? I don't know. Devils, the swindlers, let's say. Okay, that's where they'll be acting. Yes, but there'll be fewer in the Bitcoin space. Especially, you can say, and interestingly, as the price dips, all these different shenanigans will be flushed out. All the tourists will leave. because they'll panic sell or misunderstand the fundamentals or not have the right conviction or education, and they'll leave in some fashion. Or they'll lose patience. Oh, why isn't it going to 1 million tomorrow? Oh, I put 1,000 into this. Why aren't I a millionaire? Like that. Not understanding the incentive, or not understanding the first principles and the game theory at play. The 3-4 years time horizon, things like that. Evolution in money, whatever else, and they will naturally gravitate to the space. And we can see that because the proliferation, the expansion of the crypto space, the cryptocurrencies. How many altcoins are there? I got no idea. You know, a lot more than I can count to. How many zeros? 10,000, 100,000, things like that. 1 million. Whatever else like that. Interesting. But then we can go a little bit deeper to say, who has been number one on CoinMarketCap? Who is number one for how long? Okay. Because the trend is your friend. What does that say? Okay. That's interesting. The market's showing you signals. Look at all the charts out there, different currencies. Everything goes to zero against Bitcoin, as the meme goes. Pound, euro, dollar, peso, ruble, rupee, you name it. US dollar, Australian dollar, Gibraltar pound, you name it. All goes one way against Bitcoin. I did a video about this 3 or so weeks ago. The market is flashing a signal at you. Wow. What does that tell you? Because I think the big, what's important and fundamentally, and not really talked about too much, but implicitly, is education in the space. Meaning, a lot of people talk about what the price could be of Bitcoin in 5-10 years from now, power law and beyond, and stock to flow, whatever happened to that. And also that nice little, I don't know what it's called now, that nice little clock, that spiral clock. I forgot what it's called. But people talk about these things, which is great. Good, quantifying things, strategizing, trying to predict. Okay, fine, has a place. Useful, nice, okay. Fundamentals, okay. But then the opposite side to that is all these imply someone is buying. Okay, so that means that someone out there with liquidity has to pull the trigger and press buy. More people than pressing sell, makes sense. So, but where they're going to get that incentive or that conviction to press buy from is education. So then I say then at a deeper level, what matters for the adoption is education. Why it's Bitcoin only? Why Bitcoin, not crypto? Why? Understanding the first principles of it, understanding the logic behind it, the incentives, the game theory. As I mentioned earlier, Bitcoin is money you can own, money you can spend, apolitical, decentralized, fixed supply, and censorship resistant. Bitcoin fundamentally is maths, physics, and computer science. It is basically mathematics at its purest form. It's physics in a sense of moving and pushing atoms around, the proof of work mechanism. And open source code with regards to consensus, and it is code. Code is code is code is code. It always does the same thing. And because it's maths, there's no third party. It's just the universe. There's no third party. It just is. It's all these things combined together. That's powerful. To understand these things results in higher adoption, more awareness, more infrastructure. I did a video about a few days ago about it being Bitcoin for curmudgeons, people who are most cynical and scared of the world in their own way. It's for them. And then, and I'm sure it was Vanguard, they did a report 2 or so years ago, this interesting positive feedback loop that talks about the higher the price of Bitcoin is, the more users, more infrastructure, websites, Lightning Network, web, infrastructure market, businesses, more miners. More miners equals higher hash rate, meaning it's more secure. Up goes the difficulty adjustment, up goes the security of the network, because we're slowly approaching the millionth block. And the higher the hash rate is, the more users there are, because more people trust it. What's it called? Lindy effect. It's been around long enough, people have studied it and learned it and seen it, observed it. Oh, it survived this, it survived that. Who went down again recently? Cloudflare. Twice in like a month or something with regards to the cloud services. And yet Bitcoin's been up. Uptime is 99.9999 something odd percent. What's that emblematic of? What does that mean? It's confidence, it's security, more users, and it's this positive feedback loop. But the critical inflection point there is education. To understand and distinguish between Bitcoin and the crypto space, the scambling, why this is arguably to be avoided, ignored, and beyond, and this is to be embraced and manifested on, is to be built on. And this will take 15 years at a casual, gentle pace. But it's worth going a little bit deeper with regards to understanding that there's an interesting pattern at play, an interesting progression, an interesting journey people get involved in the space. And it might be murkier over time as well, but the general idea is Bitcoin first. As they learn more, their ego jumps in and they say, I can do better than this, or this. They get Bitcoin first, and they learn more and more, and they go from Bitcoin only to other coins, the scambling side, the cryptocurrency side, and they say, this coin is Bitcoin, but this Bitcoin is that, and this coin, it does this thing over here with gaming, this thing does that over there with movies, and this coin does that over there with technology, whatever else, you name it. And they realize the flaws, the scams, the shams, the swindles, the market crashes, going to zero, rug pulling, things like that, and they go right back to Bitcoin over time. And as they learn more, they go right back to it. And everyone tends to have that cryptocurrency phase, that altcoin phase. It just seems to be a general pattern, a journey that people go through. And everyone has that in their own time frame, in their own way. Some people today are starting over here, and some people today are deep over here on that side, and some people today are just leaving or just joining this part. But this is why there's that meme that says Bitcoin's inevitable. When you look at the incentives and game theory and that adoption curve, that cycle, and the 200-week moving average, and you say, right, well, as this continues, 5-10 years from now, it'll be a completely different space, and there'll be more users. For all you know, the person who will be the next Michael Saylor in, say, 15 years from now, or the next big podcaster who talks about these things, pick some big names today who you follow who are in the podcasting space. In 15 years, 5 years, 10 years, pick a time frame, they are at this stage, they're getting into the space right now, but they haven't learned what they need to learn in terms of tech or podcasting, etc., or key lessons for another 6 months. And they will start the podcast in 12 months. Things like that. Or that tweet that Michael Saylor did in 2013 about Bitcoin's days are numbered. Someone who will be a future advocate in 5 years who did their own version of the tweet today. Days are numbered. They did that tweet today, or they will be doing it in 2 weeks from now. And then in 2 years from now, they'll realize that the mistake. Things like that. All this will happen through education, through these videos, through these podcasts, through these vlogs, through these articles and books and whatever. Books and whatever else. That I think is fundamental. Understanding why Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin? Is there a book, I think it's called Why Bitcoin, Why Now? Basically that. Why Bitcoin? Again, these things I just discussed and mentioned. That. And that further distinguishing of the cryptocurrency altcoin side and Bitcoin itself. The deeper, more comprehensive, more grand, we could say, as in quality and quantity, the education is, the more people will get it. And I also think at a visceral level, people will have to acknowledge it and kind of be forced in a very loose way, because they will see the price go from down there to way up there, and down there they were saying, how bad it is, or I missed the boat, or whatever else. And then in a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, you pick a time frame, you'll be up here, and they'll be seeing all kinds of headlines. And I did a video about this 6 or so months ago, about the ontological shift that will happen as people understand and see Bitcoin grow and change and develop and mature. Their frame of reference, their understanding of reality will just be shattered, and they won't understand it, because, like with the car and electricity, it's a technology that humans have, you could argue poetically, have been waiting for, but also at the same time, technically speaking, have never had. It's that in economics, it's that fixed constant, 21 million coins with ultimately zero inflation and a half-life of infinity. Because if there's no inflation, it never gets cut in half. Rule of 72, really. Unlike with gold, 2% supply increasing per year. Rule of 72, 72 divided by 2, 36. So in 36 years, your gold is worth half as much. And you can go further to say that's the same with fiat, 25, 28 years. If you go onto the UK Bank of England inflation calculator and you do, I think it's 1997, £10 versus October 2025, 28 years, £10 in 1997 is £19.90 in 2025 October. Whoa, cut in half. That's why I say at a deeper level, between now and 2035 is the hungry, hungry hippo stage, which is it's that gold rush a sailor talked about with regards to get as many as you can before it is poetically too late, so to speak. And I did a video as well about this a year and a half or something ago, when it will be too late to buy Bitcoin. Especially because over the next 10 years, the infrastructure, market, and awareness, education, understanding is going to be basically night and day. Certainly 15 years from now, night and day. As more people understand the difference between Bitcoin and altcoin, more people go through this journey, they get to this stage, and they embrace and build on Bitcoin in their own way, in their own talent. We're using their own talents. And it's that meme that comes to mind. Study Bitcoin, stack sats and study Bitcoin. Focus on your craft. It's that meme of Lord of the Rings, sailing down the river, two big statues, stack Bitcoin, focus on your craft. And then we can go at an even deeper level. It's the fiat dark ages and the Bitcoin renaissance. But that's a whole other conversation. But that, if people haven't even got to this stage of distinguishing the two, the Bitcoin renaissance thing is light years ahead. That won't be gracefully understood by people, critical mass of people, for easily 30 years from now. Easily. 15 years minimum. But that's a whole other conversation. But that's the fundamental thing to understand. There's a difference with Bitcoin and the altcoin space, even down to the energy side, how Bitcoin will push mankind into a type 1 civilization. What's it called? A contractive wave or something, with regards to how much energy is being used on the planet. The whole energy of the planet, the whole energy of the sun, the whole energy of the solar system, things like that. Because miners, they are chasing they're chasing they're chasing the cheapest energy, because they want more of it. Difficulty adjustment goes up, price goes up. They're incentivized to mine more. Well, they're incentivized to expand their mining operations. What does that lead to? You extrapolate that out for a decade or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, 100, a century. What do you get? Wow. Things we can't even imagine today. Just how, again, like I said earlier with Michael Saylor, that tweet, people who we can't imagine who are totally against it today, in some fashion, today, could be the biggest advocates in 15 years. It's the road to Damascus, really. It's poetically speaking, biblically speaking, they're kicking against the goads, meaning why they're hurting themselves, but in 15 years they realise this is the thing to embrace. Not that over there, not that over there, not that over there, no. This. For the first principles. That, I think, also fundamentally is important. Understand Bitcoin's first principles, because that is the premise to build everything else on. The understanding, awareness, businesses, technology, the mindsets, attitudes, the Bitcoin renaissance idea, things like that. That is fundamental to life and business. Basing things on first principles. Because likewise, you could say poetically, what would evolution say? What would gravity say to my idea? Oh, I think I can fly, let's jump out the window. Delusion, what would gravity say? Splat. What would evolution say? The Darwin Awards. Things like that. That's important. But it's important to understand the distinction and what Bitcoin leads to as a revolution. Revolution and evolution in money. Because the world built on Bitcoin post-fiat in 15 years at a minimum, right now we can't imagine it, because it's just beyond our imagination. Just how in the same way you talk to someone in 1990 and you mention to them the job of being a social media manager. 1990? What social media? How do you manage media? How do you manage social? Explain that. It's beyond our frame of reference right now, because the technology, the awareness, the ideas, the engineers, developers might not have even been born yet. because we're thinking stuff on the future. The people that will build, say, layer 5 tech on Bitcoin in 50 years from now, let's just say, are not even born today. And they won't program that until they're 20. So in 30 years from now, they'll be born, they'll be Bitcoin natives, digital natives, car natives, Bitcoin natives. 30 years from now, they'll be born, they'll be the grandchildren of the Bitcoiners today. And when they're 20, for example, 18, 20, something like that, something meaningful, they will program and code the layer 5 technology. And that will revolutionize, the 2060s, for example, and take Bitcoin to the next level. Wow, very interesting. But otherwise, take Bitcoin to the next level and the society and the world and tech to the next level in ways that right now we can't even fathom. Yeah. Or can't even dream about in our wildest dreams. Yeah. But otherwise, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.